Hello, everybody. Reggie Time here with Simon. Simon's marked 6 hands that we might not get through for the view today. It's took him about half an hour to do it because he's a fucking moron. And I swore in the first 30 seconds, so that's me getting in trouble on the algorithm. Couldn't give a fuck twat bastard, just to make sure it's fucked. So away we go, Simon. Let's get stuck in. So our mate Ryan doesn't stop watching.
Yeah, okay, mate, no worries. So this is the first one. Obviously, we've got the aces, standard. Everyone limping round. So we're gonna isolate here.
Bigger,
Bigger.
bigger.
Okay.
I mean, we are where we are now, but I would
Yeah.
definitely go bigger. I'd
Okay.
use like a three bets. There's two limpers. Just pretend one of us min raised and go 10x or whatever.
hmm Fair point. The other two get out of the way. Don't know much about this guy, but obviously we can tell. He's recreational, 54.25. As a very small, but not playing with a full stack either. Flop comes down to 5-4-3.
So what are you thinking? Okay, so you're
Um,
going for the check.
I've
Why?
checked here. Why? I guess against this player, normally I'd want to be, just betting. I've got a good hand.
Okay, so why check?
No
I
idea.
don't hate the check, by the way. If we're not
Yeah.
planning on check raising, I'm more on board with it. But I'd need to know, and I don't think we do know enough about this player. I'd need to know that he was quite stabby on flops. Now, because just on the trial version, we haven't got the post flop stats, have we? This is where I'd be going to my HUD and be trying to evaluate how stabby this player was post flop. If he's not very stabby, then I'm not checking to him. If he's pretty stabby, then I'm just going to check and just try and get a check raise in, try and get all the money in now.
Yeah.
So if that was your plan, great. If that wasn't your plan, if you just check in because for some other reason, you'll have to tell me what it was.
I don't remember, if I'm honest, Reg, exactly why. I'm not
No
sure.
bother. Let's just crack on. There's been a stellar start.
Yeah.
You've checked to a fish and you don't know why you've checked to him. Okay, let's just see what he does.
OC checks. So now I will expecting to lead here. Should do half pot.
I think we need to go bigger there because we're
Okay.
not going to be able to shove the river if he calls. Well, we are, but it's going to be a slight overbet. I think once we check a street, we could just start using bigger bets on turns when it checks through. I mean, the four here should be a brick. I mean, yeah, he might have some random 4x if he has tough shit. Stinks to be Simon, doesn't it, I guess?
Yeah.
But I would have gone bigger here so I could just jam the river for less than pot. If
Okay.
we'd have made this say 2 instead of 140, just take your bet back a minute, go one click back, please. If we'd have gone 2 here and he calls, that puts 680 in the pot and it puts 5 in his stack. So then we're shoving the river for like around just over 3/4 pot, about 80%. Whereas when you go 140 and he calls, it only puts 560 in the pot and he's got about, maybe he's got a pot left. But yeah, just manage your pot. But I had the same conversation with Owen on Monday about we need to be making sure, especially against everybody, but especially against fish, we need to make sure that the pot's going to be appropriately sized for us to make good size value bets.
Yeah.
And then make sure we get full and make sure we get called quite often. I mean, 140 here, the shove river's fine, I guess, but I would have just gone 2 in shove river, just because it doesn't leave us with slight overbet or what have you on the river. So we went to 140, and presuming he's going to call.
He does.
Yep.
River's straight.
Our hand's quite shit now, though, isn't it?
It
In
is.
terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah. It is.
you know,
And yeah, I guess this is why this hand's in here, really. But yeah, because well, this is what I do.
yeah. Well, when we shove, he
Yeah.
calls, and most of the time he either chops or wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he just side calls with a 4 that didn't raise the turn, although I would expect a 4 to raise the turn quite often. So I imagine here we just, when he calls, we chop or lose. Nothing we can do. I would still
Yeah.
do what you've done. I would still go all in.
Yeah.
But and just yeah, I think we just like been a bit fancy on this board. We didn't need to. We got an overpair on the flop versus a whale. Just
Yeah.
bet, bet,
Yeah.
bet, bet. You just get the money in as quickly as possible. I mean, I don't think there's that much to see here. If you're going for check raise and the flop and that check raise failed, never mind. I don't hate that. I think my major issue is that turn size.
Okay. Yeah.
This is just whatever now. We've rivered it straight. We're
Yeah.
probably going to chop a lot on call and occasionally lose. But yeah, you've
Yeah.
got, as played, after checking the flop, you have to do what you've done. Um, and what it is what it is. I mean, if he's got a 6, he was going to call the flop anyway, so it makes no difference. So, in terms of what you've done, has it changed the outcome of the hand? Almost certainly not. But um, there's right ways and wrong ways to do things, and I think we could have just led the flop in the absence of knowing how stabby he is versus checks, and we definitely should have bet bigger on the turn.
That's fair enough. And yeah, he wasn't ever folding.
No,
But
no, he absolutely was never folding. Yeah, I mean that it doesn't matter. We're just losing all the money there.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Whatever happens.
Okay, fairly standard. Do. Okay. So ace king off. We're gonna open 3-bet.
That's a very small 3-bet, right? Right. So this is obviously some kind of reg,
Yep.
but it's obviously some kind of very very shit reg because this size is just fucking non-existent. And I can't even imagine what, because I play in this pool, I can't even imagine what reg this is because this, I don't know any regs that do this.
No.
So I'm going to pause the video a minute and ask you who the fucking reg is. Yep, so Simon just showed me who it is. I played a lot with this reg this morning. Those stats you've got at the stats I've got. The stats I've got is he's like much more aggressive than that, much looser. I've got like 30 something, 20 something with a pretty high 3-bet. So I know more about him than you. I would just, I mean, this is going to be a pure 4-bet anyway, but I'm delighted to just 4-bet this guy and get the money in. He's a bit of a, he's a bit of a monkey.
Yeah. Okay. We get a call here, and I really hope.
Right, okay. Now, so what do you think you should do now?
In my head, I think I should probably jam it.
Yeah, I think jamming's going to be fine here.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain I don't. In fact, I know I don't.
I mean, well, we can obviously have 4-bet non all ins, but I think jamming's going to be fine too. I really do. In fact, I think jam might just be the cleanest play.
Yeah,
You're playing in a high rake environment. You don't pay any rake if you just take the pot down now. There's fucking, what is the 16 and a half bigs in there? Yeah, just all in. No fucking right. Just make it clean. Keep it nice and clean. Stick the lot in.
I mean, this could well be the first cunt of the day. I mean, I don't know, but
Well, no, it's not. If you call it, you're a cunt.
yeah,
This is fine. I have no issue with this either. This is completely fine. I prefer just jam though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just looking at it there when you said it does look like a clear jam, doesn't it? He folds out, and he just goes.
Yeah, now we just call and whatever, and we hope to win against Jacks or whatever it is he's got.
Probably
Sixes? Wow. Yeah, I mean, maybe if we jam, he just folds that. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? And again, that's just another kind of nonsense hand because it's kind of played itself.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, his line is ridiculous, of course. I mean, yeah, but we're not here to discuss Phil's lines. I don't think you've done anything wrong there. I would have just preferred when someone 3-bets and then someone else calls. I'm very exploitable in what I do. I jam ace king, I jam kings, and I 4-bet non all in with aces. I think I jam queens as well. So basically, I jam everything except aces that I continue with.
Yeah.
And then aces is non all in, and I don't give a fuck how face up that is. I literally could not care less. It works just fine.
Fair enough. No problems. No problems at all. Okay. Right. Next one's kings. So we're going to open, obviously. I get a call from a regular reg here, who you know very well.
Ah, oh, good. Goody, goody, goody. I'm going to enjoy this one. Let's see what's happening.
So Jack 6-4 on the flop.
He's going to check. I already know. And now it's just a matter of sizing.
Yeah. I don't really want to click this next button because I've got a feeling I may check here, and I don't know why I would do, but yeah, I do.
Right, okay. We need to. We This is a, in my opinion, pretty large error.
Hmm.
Why? Why have we checked?
I've no idea really. Again, it's going back to the aces there. I'm not really sure what I'm doing there. To be fair, it's
But we need to
just
know.
bonkers.
Right. I'm gonna. Right, you know, I've got a lot of love for you, but fuck off. No,
Yeah.
I'm not tolerating. I don't really know with a bit of a snigger. Why you do it? Because it's like it's. I mean, we'd probably do check this board back at some frequency in theory. Fuck that in practice. We've got two kings, and we've got a pretty decent flop. So why are we checking this? What is it about this player? Are you doing this because you think this player like probes too often?
No, definitely not. No.
Are you doing it because you're scared he's going to overfold?
No, I think on this occasion it would have been with a check raise in mind,
We can't check
but
raise. We're in
could,
position.
yeah, yeah, yeah. On the yeah, okay,
Yeah. I am being a bit of a cunt with you here, and I don't want to like try and make you look bad, but this like the aces check, fine. You can say yeah, I'm going for a check raise. We check here. We just see another card, and we just allow villain to realize more equity. We just don't get incredibly fat value from an awful lot of hands that are just going to be forced to continue.
yeah.
Is it fear of being raised? Are you like, I don't really want
No,
to,
no, definitely not here. No, I wouldn't be concerned by that at all.
So what is it then? What's is it?
I
Too
think it's
many
just an error.
tables
I
and
think
you.
it's just a fuck up. It is. I'm not sure what the thought process is here at all. But yeah,
But
I
something
think
would have
it's
triggered that error though. Is
yeah.
it you played too many tables and you've just like autopilot and just click check? Is it there'll be a reason for it.
Mm,
These things don't happen for no reason.
yeah. No, I can't give you an answer. It's I don't know the answer.
Right. Well, pay more attention, focus more, going
I know
forward,
it's
and
better. I know it's
don't
better.
miss these bets. I mean, to me, it's just a matter of what size we want to go. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say standard size here is probably going to be, you can't go wrong with your bog standard shit reg 1/3 bet. Anything from 35 to 50. I would actually prefer to go a little bit bigger. I think there's plenty of hands in big blind range here that's going to have to call a larger bet. Um, so I would personally go bigger. I would probably go just north of half pot, probably like just three blinds rather than two and a bit. But it's really not going to matter. You can maybe even say fuck you. I know you have to defend a lot of your range here, and you could even maybe go up to like 3/4 pot. But
Hmm.
fucking bet something, do something. But you didn't. Let's see the next street.
Yeah.
Okay. Now he's maybe going to start probing a little bit. He does. Um, he probes using a small size, which he should. I don't think he's got any major reasons to use a larger size here. Um, hmm. There's still part of me still wants to raise, but it stinks if he three bets. But he's going to have like quite a few probes here that we can still get value from on a raise. He might probe a 9, for example. He might probe Jack X.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, the value hands are going to be some flushes because he's in the big blind. He's going to have quite a lot of flushes here. He's going to have occasional bit of two pair with 6/4, Jack 9, Jack 6 suited. I think probably not raising overall. I kind of want to, but I think theory here probably wouldn't raise. I think in practice I probably would still low. Yeah, but we're not folding. What are you thinking?
Um, I I I'm thinking raise here. I've got hands. I mean, obviously he has a lot of flushes. You're right, but we do have the king of spades.
Yeah, he has 9x and Jack X. I might do this as well.
Yeah.
He can have like pair plus flush draw. He can have quite comfortably have a hand like um, well, maybe even ace jack. I don't think this player necessarily three bets ace jack off from the big blind. Queen jack off. You can have like some offsuit broadways that have got like the jack plus a spade. We've got the king of spades, which is kind of blocks some of his continues, I guess. Uh, um, I just want to raise because I want more than 40 cents going in
Yeah.
on here, so I don't hate raise,
Yeah.
and we just hope not to get three bet.
So I do raise, and he then comes back over the top.
Yeah, now we're in trouble. Now we are in major trouble. I think we probably fold. His bet three bet range. He's just got. He's saying now, I've got one pair beat. You know, he's not. His value range is basically has one pair crushed right now. He's got sets. He's got flushes. He's got two pairs, etc. I don't
Yeah.
think he's doing this with two pair. He's basically saying, "I've got a flush, mate,"
Yeah.
and I'm inclined to believe him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Then maybe he's just saying, "I've got a set and I don't give a fuck." But he's certainly got one pair beat. I think we can just fold here because like he's probed the turn. That range can be relatively wide. We've raised and he's three betters. This range is very very narrow, and I'd imagine contains very few to almost zero bluffs, and his bluffs are just going to be the ace of spades.
Yeah.
So what offsuit ace of spades does he have? Is he doing this with like ace jack with the ace of spades? No, he's just probably
No.
calling that. Yeah, we're just fucked here. We're just
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah. Absolutely. That was my view, I think, but I didn't. Uh, I just had this was still in my head, and yeah, I think this is pretty terrible, but
Well, no, no. At least we've got a draw, haven't we?
yeah,
You know, we have a. You know, maybe if he's got a set, we've got kings. You know, if we hit a king, it can be good. I think it's very likely he's just got a flush. But if he is doing that with like a set of fours or a set of sixes or maybe a turn set of nines, and we've got a few more outs against that. So I don't. I think I'd probably call, but hate it. But I would not call any rivers unless I improved.
yeah, okay. A small overbet pot, and I do fold.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fine. Let's go back to the turn, see what price we were actually getting. So we need 31% equity. We're going to hit our flush, what, like 18% of the time? But if he's got a flush, obviously we're not, because if he's got a flush, then he's blocking it. But so we've probably got, what, like, I don't know, maybe 18% chance of improving.
Yeah,
We need 31% to call. Problem is, if we when we do call and we do improve, is he going to give us any more money? Because if a fourth spade comes, are we going to make up the extra money? Probably not. I don't think. Because I think this player's good enough. If you just say he does have a hand like 10-8 of spades, I think if a spade comes on the river, I think he's just going to be like, fuck's sake, check. And maybe he calls river, maybe he doesn't when you jam. But I think probably just fold the turn, given that we need 31%.
yeah,
And we're not getting correct direct odds. We might be drawing dead if he's got the ace high flush. We're fucking stone dead. And when we do make a flush and he doesn't have the nut flush, how often are we getting paid? So I think probably just fold the turn, as sickening as that sounds.
yeah,
And I don't mean against this player. This isn't a needle to this player versus population. Like
yeah,
probe, three bet. It's just going to be way better than one pair. And given our outs might be dirty, given we might not have any outs, and given it when we do hit, we're not guaranteed to capture any more money. I think overall it just pushes me to fold on the turn. But bet the fucking flop, man.
yeah. I agree. I agree. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, kings again. Um,
Okay. So you got 1,000 hands on this villain. So if you need to pause, so you can remind yourself who it is, tell me. We can pause.
yeah, we'll have a
'Cause
quick look.
right.
Okay.
So I know loads about this villain. You've got 1,000 hands. You should know something about him. And I do believe this is one of the players that you called a cunt and a shit stain or whatever else you fucking. You used some rather colourful language to describe him and another couple of the regular villains from this pool before we started recording. So I know you know a bit about him too. So
Yeah.
what is your strategy going to be? Blind versus this player with this portion of your range.
Um, well, I mean, I am strong here, obviously. So I very much hope to see a bet.
Yeah, I think we have to bet with this player because he isn't particularly aggressive. You can see his C bet stat 30% odd. That's about accurate for him. He's he's like pre-flop. He's done well and he's learnt some chart stuff. So he's reasonable at following charts. And post flop, he's, to be fair, quite similar to me. A little bit on the passive side, a little bit nut peddly, capable of the occasional fucking losing his mind and tilting. Yeah, so like a lot of shit regs. So with that in mind, we don't really want to be checking strong hands to him very often. I don't think. So
Yeah.
hopefully you'll find a bet here.
Well, I hope so. Oh,
Stop it! Will you? What is it about you having good hands and not wanting to fucking build? You can't win a big pot if you don't fucking build one, fella. The
no,
third
no.
time in a row, we've just fucking checked very strong value hands, and I'm be honest with you, I'm getting a little bit tired of it now.
Ah, that's terrible.
Because like before the video, when we looked at your graph, and you know you've not had a terrible week. You've made the buy-in over 4,000 hands, but you commented saying it's as flat as my penis, which I thought was a strange analogy, but nevertheless, I can see why now. Because if you're not getting value with your good hands, you're gonna find it hard to fucking win.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just like it's almost like you're scared of like maybe you're like, well, there's three streets to go. Do I really, you know, and like I don't know, you're scared of negotiating three streets. I don't get it. I just don't get it. That's like out of position to the aggro looking fish with the aces. I was willing to give you a pass on that because yeah, maybe you're going for a check shove against someone who might like bet call far worse hands. Um, but like the last king's in position check versus our friend, and this one, nah, I'm not having him. Afraid I'm not having him. You need to stop doing it. There's definitely a mental block here that's causing you to do this, and you need to get the fuck over it and just start putting money in pots with good hands.
I don't disagree. I mean, I'm what I don't know why I've done that. Again, it's just fucking stupid. Um, we do bet now.
Yep, that's okay. We're going with the bigger sides after checking the flop.
He calls.
And we have a nice clean bet fold river, I hope. Oh,
Check.
right, okay. So why aren't we value betting?
Yeah. No, there should be.
Value betting against the queen. We're value betting against. Well, basically, we're just value betting, and he can decide what to bluff catch with. It doesn't matter. Like I think that, of course, like the ten's not ideal because like Queen 10 specifically has got there. The flush has got in, and there is a wheel there that he might not have raised to turn. So there are ways to beat here, but overall, I estimate we probably have the best hand, plenty enough of the time to make a value bet. If we think we've got the best hand here, 70% of the time, and I think we probably have, if not more. And even when he calls, we still have versus calling range, we still have we still win way more than half the time. We just have a value bet. We can't check raise. If we had a hand strong enough to check raise here, say we had the nut flush, then yeah, sometimes it's okay to check. If we've got a hand that's strong enough to check raise, it's okay to check. But if we have a hand that it's not strong enough to check raise with, then we should just bet it ourselves. And I
Yeah.
would have bet here. And because there's a flush present, and because we want to like we don't always want to bet flushes. If we're only betting flushes here, we can just bet big. But because we want to bet ace queen here, we want to bet king queen. We want to bet pocket kings. We want to bet pocket aces. We want to bet pocket queens. We want to bet all them hands that aren't flushes. I don't think we want to be over betting here, but we certainly want to be using like 3/4 pot. So yeah, this is like it's not good. Because this guy especially, he's like, yeah, he might value on himself sometimes. He might like go up a thin value with Queen Jack here. But he's not. He's not gonna like make any huge. I don't think he's like one for over bluffing in these spots. I think if he's got a hand like pocket sixes, he's just going to check back. If he's got a hand like pocket eights, he's just going to check back. If he's somehow river to 10, and I don't know how he could do, but if he has somehow river to 10, he might bet that, he might check back. I think he's not going to bet many hands worse than the queen here for value, because that's just the sort of player he is. We both know that about him. So he's not going to value bet thinly enough for us to want to check raise against. He's not going to bluff frequently enough for us want to bluff catch, and our hand's too strong to bluff catch. So we just should just value bet. And again, so what we've talked about in previous weeks, before you do an action on the river, how much equity do I think I've got in this pot versus his calling range? If you think you've got still more than 50% equity versus his calling range, then you should just make a bet. If you know you've got 100% equity because you've got the nuts or something very, very nutted, then by all means try a check raise against the right opponents. But yeah, this is it's just not good, mate. It's just not good.
No, I totally agree.
And now he's overbet, and I guess we just fold because
I hope I
this.
do.
I mean, basically, he's saying here he has the ace of clubs. It
Yeah.
just does he have another one with it? That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I do call, which is I think just terrible, really. Again, but
I don't like paying off river over bets against where he
no.
hasn't got the ace. He's actually got a flush, but whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, against this guy, I mean, the amount of times he's 2x pot shoved bet the river and it hasn't been a bluff is about the same amount of times that I've had girls swallow my semen, and and sadly that's never happened. You know,
Yeah.
and I'm 49, and that is just a cause of sadness to me because it's probably never going to happen now. But yeah, the guy just isn't doing this. He's just this isn't the player who's going to 2x pot the river as a
Yeah.
bluff.
Yeah.
He just isn't that guy. He should do if he's got like ace X with a club here. He absolutely should, but he's not doing it because he's just not that fucking guy. He's a fucking stain. Um, yeah, we should just bet fold that river fella. And maybe if you bet that river, he doesn't even raise because he's that much of a stain. Maybe he just fucking calls.
Yeah.
And if we bet that river for €2, he might be shit enough and scared enough to just fucking call that river. So we get value from his worse hands, and then when he does have a better hand like this, maybe he doesn't even raise us, so we just lose less.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
I'm beginning to see why you're having some of the problems you're having, like with your red line, because if I mean red line comes when we overfold and we don't bluff enough and we miss value. Now this is a pool where we're not going to be doing an awful lot of bluffing in, but it's a pool where we absolutely shouldn't be missing value in. And I think that we've missed. We should just bet the. Imagine we bet the flop here. He calls probably with his gut shot on his back doors. We bet the turn he calls and river comes a club. Yeah, it's shit. We probably lose more money. But imagine if it doesn't come that way. Imagine if he's got this hand and then the river bricks out. Then we just how much value have you missed with kings raising because like he checks back the flop because he's a fanny. Then he calls a turn. Imagine if we bet the flop. He's not folding this hand. He's got a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. We bet he's going to call. He's going to turn his flush draw. We bet again. He's going to call. Then a lot of the time he's on the river. He's just not going to get there. Or maybe if we're lucky, he's going to river a pair and he maybe calls a third bet. And then there's just so much value you're leaving on the table, and it needs to stop. You need to be like stop. Just you're basically remember what we talked about. Before you make a bet, how much equity does my hand have versus his calling range? And that you're not going to get that perfect, just rough estimates. And if you think to yourself, right, I've got more than 50% equity versus his calling range, you just have a value bet. So just make the fucking bet.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. I don't. Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yep. So let's have less of this next week, please, because this has not been good so far.
Okay. Next one, we've got Jack 10 suited on here. We get raised here.
Okay.
Against this specific, well, yeah, I'm calling here anyway, whatever. Not whatever, but certainly against this player. I didn't have many hands on him, but I'd seen what he'd been doing in those few hands.
Yeah.
And we were going to come along. Here's the flop.
Nice.
check. He
Oh,
bets
so he goes
big.
big bet on this board. Okay. I think versus big bet, we just have a call. I think versus like a smaller bet, we could consider raising. I think when he's big betting, I think he's just going to be more weighted towards like good hands. That we have like less forward equity against. Say you bet 1/3 pot here, then we could be like, right, okay, well this is maybe just a lazy range bet from a bad aggressive player, so therefore we've got enough equity where we can just raise and like attack the portion of his range that's folding and not give a fuck if he jams because we just got enough equity to run it. But I think when he big bets, I think his range is going to be more like value heavy, like looking for protection. Um, so I think against a range that's big betting, I think we have very limited fold equity. Um, so I would just call personally.
Okay. Yeah, I choose not to.
I mean, it can't be terrible because we've got a fucking straight flush draw.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're happy to get money in the pot, but I think there's a distinction to be drawn here, unless fuck me, your phone rings a lot, doesn't
Oh, it
it?
does.
I just think like versus big bet, I just think like population in general and the reg population is just going to be heavily weighted towards hands that aren't folding when they big bet this board.
Yeah.
So if we don't have a lot of fold equity, we may as well just fucking call, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, I mean, what when you made this raise, what were you hoping happened?
Um,
What was plan A?
I don't know really because I mean, if he folds, I guess that's good in some respects.
Yeah, it is. Well, when I'm check raising this, my ideal outcome is villain folds.
Yeah.
Then the second ideal outcome is make my hand for me, please.
Yeah.
But the issue I have is like, so do you consider bet size whether you decide to raise or not, or are you just I've got a straight flush draw, so I don't give a fuck what his bet size is. I'm still raising.
I don't think I considered his bet size in this on this occasion when I raised. My view here was I've got straight flush draw.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's I've no issue with that because we do have such a fucking nuclear strength draw. We don't care, but I still think there's a like we need to be able to like notice different sizes and allocate different ranges to them, even on a sample size of this, because this guy's looking like he's maybe shaping up to be an aggro reg, but they still will display some sort of sizing tells. Like that, I imagine on this board they're gonna have most players, rightly or wrongly, are gonna have more than one size, and the bigger sizes are usually typically going to be the sizes where they're not planning on folding. And the smaller sizes, maybe they're not planning on folding with the smaller size either. But I think we have a lot more fold equity versus small bet here than we do big bet. And given that the play we're making, i.e., with check raising as like a semi bluff or with check raising like just a high equity hand, given part of what we're doing here requires fold equity, I just don't think it's going to be there in abundance because of their bet size. So that's something I would have considered, and maybe not something that you stop to consider. Now, if he'd bet, say, quarter pot here, then check raise is really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he's betting quarter pot, you assume he's doing that because he wants to bet a lot of his range. Now, of course, you don't want to bet a lot of your range on these boards very often, but maybe he doesn't know that. When he's like betting larger, stereotypically, and most regs in these games who are like not as good as regs who play higher stakes. When they're betting larger, their usual thought process is right. Well, I'm not betting this board as frequently, so I'm just going to use a larger bet size. So when they use a larger bet size, it's because they're not betting it as frequently. So they're just going to have hands in their range that they're either keen to protect or build a pot with. So we don't want to be raising against that. So that's kind of how you want to look at these spots against regs, in my opinion, is when regs use larger bets on flops, it's often because they're going to be their particular hand is a low frequency bet. Or sorry, their range is low frequency, but their hand wants to actually bet. So they might have, say, for example, pocket kings here without a spade that just wants to get money in right now. They might have ace queen that just wants to get money in right now, and they're going to have far less of the pocket jacks that might want to range but that might check back. I just think this range is going to be very, very value heavy, and as such, we're going to have very little fold equity against it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that makes lots of sense. Um, he calls.
Okay. Well, I'm all in. Don't know about you.
Um, I don't know what I do here actually. Yeah,
Yeah, we just have to. We're up in
yeah,
sets here.
yeah,
We're up in pocket fours, pocket queens, pocket nines, and then what we've got.
yeah,
After we check raise that flop, we've got less than pot left on the turn. If we don't go all in, then turn your computer off and go and do something else.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was my view. um, he calls, and we don't get there, and he's just yeah, pocket ace. Was you
Yeah.
everything you said was right?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not
absolutely
really
spot on.
surprised to see that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, absolutely spot on. But yeah, so mate, yeah, I don't know if we just call on the flop there. What,
I would just call versus big bet
yeah,
because I think he's going to have like aces, kings, queens, ace, queen. It's just going to be that part of his range. It's just where
mhm,
he's going to be. For that size, in my opinion, way more often. And then sometimes he's just going to have better draws than us. He's going to have ace X of, well, guess ace king of spades is like the only flush draw left, really. Ace five of spades as well. Ace four of spades. Although maybe ace four of spades doesn't need to bet because it's got a pair. But yeah, his draws are going to have us dominated. I mean, maybe now and again he's got Jack ten of diamonds or something like that, and we just get it in incredibly good shape. But yeah, big bet usually means there isn't a great deal of fold equity available. So when we're semi bluffing or like betting with like high equity but like no showdown value, we maybe want to do a bit less of that and maybe just call.
yeah, no, that makes fair point.
So I guess to take off this, Andy, is when we are doing this type of thing, try and figure out, do you think you have much fold equity before you do it? And if you don't think you have much fold equity, then don't make the raise. Unless your draw's so strong you just don't care. So, if we had, say, I don't know, fucking ace, four of spades here, we've got so much equity, who gives a shit? We've got a pair, we've got the nut flush draw. We get it in against a set, we're virtually a coin flip. So we don't care then.
Yeah,
But when we've got a hand like this that needs to improve, and probably isn't going to get too many folds, then maybe just like, right, fine, okay. We're not getting great odds, but it's just a call. But whereas if he'd bet quarter pot or third pot, I think then you have more fold equity because he's going to just theoretically, the smaller he bets, the wider his range of betting should be. The wider his range is, the more folds he's going to have in it. So when he bets bigger, his range is going to be narrower. It's going to have less folds in it. So just try and bear that in mind when you're going for these high equity bluffs. Just basically, if villain's using a larger size, maybe go for them less often.
yeah, no, that makes sense. And then I've only got one more hand left to look at here now.
Okay, okay.
And this isn't a particularly interesting hand, if I'm honest, but it's just I was going
Well, that'll
fair,
keep
fair,
people watching, won't it? Turn
yeah,
off now,
well,
lads. This one's fucking boring. See you,
not so much,
see you next week.
not so much that. It's just I was a little bit bamboozled by the not bamboozled, I guess, but it was quite a big opening raise for a player that I've never seen do that before.
Right,
Um,
okay.
so I just wasn't really sure where and how to proceed with tens here because um, it does fold all the way around to us. So um,
Right, usually when I see this, I mean, this guy looks like a reg.
yeah,
Um, and there's a whale. And he doesn't normally do this. If I know who this is. I feel compromised here, because I know who this is, and we've discussed this, and yeah, I already know what his hand is, or at least I think I do,
hmm
and I know why. So I'm not going to go into too many specifics,
yeah,
but yeah, I know why this is happening. But when you typically see regs doing this in general, it's usually going to be a hand that they're going to want to play heads up. Or they've got like clearly they've got like this 69-7 guy in the pot, and they just try to exploit that player by just
Yeah.
making an oversized range with like a very very narrow, um, very very value heavy range,
Yeah.
and that's not giving away what I've talked about with this guy because there's other regs in this pool that do this.
Right.
There used
Okay.
to be one years ago called, well, not years ago, it disappeared now. I suspect he's changed his name. Called Chronolovsy or something, and there's another one who I can't remember, and they would just go 6x, and it would just be aces,
Yeah.
sometimes kings. This is going to be a good hand, and I don't think I'm breaking the lad's confidence by saying this because, well, you know now, you've seen the hand, you've seen the showdown,
Yeah.
so it's not difficult to figure out. I think if this 69-7 was not in this pot, this sat you wouldn't have seen this size.
Right. Okay.
So it's not like he's unbalanced. He's unbalanced exactly in this spot, and I am too. Since we talked about it, I like it, and I started fucking doing it. It's only when a whale's present, and it's always a good hand, basically.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I just chose to call here, and I don't know. That's
Well,
what I
that's
wasn't.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
If I saw any reg doing this, I'd be, whether it was this guy, whether it was you, whether it was any other reg in the pool, whether it was fucking Juice, whether it was Waller or whoever, and there's a whale at the table, and all of a sudden out of the blue, they make it 5x or 6x. I'm like, all right, you got aces in, have you? And so it's very exploitable for the regs. But they don't care about that because they don't care that you know it's aces and you're going to overfold because all they give a shit about is they want villain 17. That's all they're
Yeah.
interested in. And I get
Yeah.
it and I like it. I really like it.
Hmm.
When regs open 5 or 6x, pretty much just fold everything because their range is about 2% of hands.
Right. Okay. So yeah, let's say we call, and then we hit the 10, which is
Oh,
nice.
happy days.
Yeah. Um, check it. Um, uh, he leads out. We call.
So I think, given what I know about that sizing, not just against this fellow, but against regs who employ this strategy, I'd raise all day here because we know their range is just so narrow.
Hmm.
If he does have aces or kings here, what do you think he's going to do when you raise?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, what's he not going to do?
What's he not going to do?
Yeah, what's the one thing he's not doing when we?
Fold.
If we make this 5 here, he's not folding.
No.
So just make it 5
Yeah.
or
Okay.
6 or whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, fair enough. He probably is just going to barrel off here, but nevertheless, like if this was up against like that old school like Chronolovsky, whatever it was, or if I was up against fucking Juice or anyone else who does this, because like I said, this strategy isn't exclusive to this lad, which is why I'm confident I'm not betraying a confidence, and we're not putting his name on screen either. So again, it doesn't fucking matter. When regs do this, when they open 5 or 6x pre, and they see bet, just check raise when you've got better than top pair or better than over pair. If we had 10-9 here, or we have a set or what have you, conversely, if we just had the draw, just call because they are quite face up here, and they don't care that they're face up. I mean, he's unfortunate because he's got you instead of the fish,
Mm.
and you're going to make way less mistakes. But his entire strategy here is just get villain 17 heads up and just go bomb, bomb, bomb
Yeah.
with
Okay.
an overpair. That's the strategy. Um, okay, so I would have raised here, but you didn't, which is fine because we got top set. We don't mind just letting him blast. I presume we're going to raise at some point.
We check again. He checks back.
Okay.
Um, we go 4.
And just a nice big bet now. Nice big bet, like 3/4 pot plus 2/3. Bit on the small side, but whatever.
Yeah. And he folds. So yeah, that's. I just was a little bit
Oh,
surprised.
so hang on.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Because I thought you said you were surprised at what he turned up with.
No. I was surprised. I was just surprised at the open size. That was all. That was the bit that
Ah,
confused
right.
me a little bit
Yeah, well, I'm
because
confused now. And now this might not be the player that I thought it was. Let's not look at his name.
yeah.
But I presume this was someone I talked to a lot. I presume because his stats look very similar, and I presume this was just it. This had to just be Ace King, I presume, and maybe so. Yeah, because I don't know exactly what hand he's doing it with.
Yeah.
But I know most regs here because when I'm doing this, what he's just done there, my range is basically tens plus, Ace King, Ace Queen suited, and like maybe ace jack suited stuff like that. It's just all the really pretty stuff, and all I'm wanting is villain 17. That's my entire target in the hand. Is I've got a good hand. It's very strong, and I want villain 17, and I don't want anybody else. So I just presumed he had aces. I'll be honest with you, I was surprised he folded the river because I just thought, well, that's aces. He's checked back the turn for pot control because he's been called, and the big blind range has two pairs and straights in it. So I presumed he was pot controlling turn with the plan on just not folding river.
Mhm.
So maybe it wasn't the same player,
Yeah,
but
it was just the open size would just threw me a little bit because
yeah,
it was 5x open,
I think generally speaking,
which
unless it's a fish that's 5x in their entire range, when you see 5x open or 4x, quite often you'll see fish who do a lot of limping, and then they'll maybe do a bit of min raise, and then they'll do a 4x. Just basically, the bigger the open, the narrower the range. Just view it like that. With
Mhm.
all players are like that. The bigger the open, the narrower the range, unless they're one of these like 85, 70 fucking whoppers that we see in these games who are like opening big with everything. Then obviously that's different. But most of the time, when you see the 4x, the 5x, the 6x, it's just going to be top of range stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
Excellent. It's been a pleasure catching up with you. The viewers have already seen 46 minutes. I've been talking to you for 1.5 hours, and there was lots of fucking glue going on beforehand,
Yeah,
wasn't there?
there was.
And then the hands you brought have been a bit gluey. So let's just do better next week. Like, get this fucking aggression sorted, will you? It's like,
Yeah.
if you got a good hand, just fucking start putting money in the pot.
Mhm.
Because like you've had a winning week, which is fine. It's better than you sometimes do, but it's very obvious we can still do so much better. And when we looked at those hands, and I know you're not doing that all the time, but just don't do it. You have an overpair in these games, just fucking keep betting until they give you reason to slow down. Until your villain or the board gives you reason to slow down, just keep your fucking foot down.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what we're
gonna.
doing it for.
It certainly is. We're gonna end the video now. Cheers for that, Simon, and yeah, we'll see everybody next week. Bye bye for now.